So listen, we all have those moments where we just feel like an awkward cretin. For me, it's usually when I'm out socializing and I'm kind of standing on the edge of a group. They're not really including me in their conversation. I'll be kind of pretending everything's okay, but really I'm thinking, why are they not including me? Is it something I'm doing? Do they think I'm weird? I'll start hyperfixating on stupid things like, what am I doing with my hands? Are they supposed to be in my pockets? Do I have them out in front of me? And then I want to say something, but I also don't want to say the wrong thing. So I end up saying nothing at all. And then when I finally do open my mouth to say something, I'm messing up, I'm stumbling over my words. Now I feel like everyone's looking at me. I'm getting embarrassed, I'm turning red in the face. I wish I just kept my fucking mouth closed. And of course, in the moment, no one actually thinks it's a big deal. Like, no one else is taking it that seriously. But in my head, I'm playing this back for days and days at a time, just mentally torturing myself. But it's when you get into one of these situations, and I'm not just talking about in your social life, it could be at work, you've got to give a presentation, or it could be on a date. You really just want to be anywhere else in the world. You just want to escape. But sometimes leaving isn't an option, and I actually wouldn't recommend it because you're never going to fix this problem if you keep running from it. So a question I've been asking myself recently is, how is it that some people are able to look and feel confident when their body is telling them the exact opposite, when their mind is telling them to just escape and run away? And of course, in an ideal world, this awkwardness would no longer be a problem. We would have solved that entirely. And don't get me wrong, that is the long-term solution. But just while we're working towards that, what can we be doing in the meantime to have an immediate effect, to start counteracting that awkwardness, to fake it till you make it, if you will? So in this video, I'm going to tell you 3 ways to look confident even when you're feeling awkward. So this first one is super accessible to everyone. Anyone can literally try this right now to immediately feel less awkward. And that is to hack your way to confidence through presentation and body language. Okay, so when you're not totally sure of yourself, it is actually very normal to be invested in what other people think of you. And you'll hear like a million guys online saying, don't care what other people think of you, don't care this and that, this and that. But actually, it's not that simple. Like, the example I like to use is if you were to meet someone like a celebrity, someone you've been idolizing for years, someone who's rich, who's got high social status, it's natural that you're going to be a little bit starstruck. You're kind of going to put them on the pedestal to an extent. And of course, you don't want to let it control every aspect of your life. But don't listen to anyone who says it is not normal to somewhat want to make a good impression, to somewhat care about what other people think of you. So I just want you to keep that in mind. But if there is a particular situation you're preparing for that is causing you a lot of stress or anxiety, you're worried about how other people are going to perceive you, and you want to make a good impression, would it not make sense to go into that situation, to give yourself every advantage by physically looking your best? My friend, there are a few things more important in this life than the way you see yourself. And if you are unhappy with yourself physically, then that is inevitably going to translate into the way you carry yourself. If you look in the mirror and you don't like what you see, you are going to walk around feeling more self-conscious. You're going to be less likely to engage with others and put yourself in social situations. You're not going to be willing to look others in the eye when they're speaking to you. I'm sorry to say it sounds really harsh, but you are going to be radiating this nervous energy, and people can tell. And you can call me vain, you can call me self-centered, whatever you like, but the reverse is also true, because to look good is to feel good. Honestly, one of the fastest ways, if not the fastest way, I became confident was through upgrading my physical appearance. And it's always something I come back to whenever I need an instant confidence boost. Probably the highest return on interest thing anyone can do to start feeling better about the way they look is to go to the gym, get in shape, lose some weight, and start packing on some nice lean muscle. After being skinny for so many years, just not really being able to stand the sight of myself when I looked in the mirror, when I started getting physically bigger, actually filling out some t-shirts, I just saw myself in a completely different way. It was absolutely transformational. So if there's one change that you had to make out of everything I'll tell you in this video, this should honestly be it. It also definitely helps if you're well groomed, that you're getting your hair cut at least once a month. Also improving your style, getting some clothes that actually fit you. If you're well built, if you've been going to the gym, ideally something that's going to show off your physique. By the way, let me know if you want a full looks maxing video, because I have a whole routine. I've been on this for a very long time. Maybe there's still room for improvement, but compared to 5 years ago, how I used to look, this might as well have been the glow up of the century. But yeah, the reason these changes to your physical appearance work so well and have worked so well for me is because think about what anxiety is. Anxiety is the uncertain. It's feeling like you don't have control over a situation. So anything you can do to reclaim just a little bit of control over that situation is inevitably going to help you feel better. And if I'm going into a stressful situation and a new item of clothing or a new haircut would make me feel even 2% less anxious, I still think it's worth it. So in addition to upgrading your looks, you also want to be paying close attention to your body language. Guys, it is well documented that the way you hold your body can have a profound impact on your emotional state. When your body language is very guarded, like folded arms and legs, when you're hunched over, when you're occupying very little space, that is signaling not just to other people, but to yourself that you're nervous. Like, it is going to send a hormonal response throughout your body that will amplify that anxiety. And I know it sounds like some basic shit, but so many people just forget the basics. You got to nail the basics first. You got to smile. You got to stand with your shoulders back. Maintain that good posture. Don't be afraid to stretch out a little bit, to occupy more space. You want to show that you're comfortable and in control of the situation. Because if you show that you're very confident and sure of yourself with your body, your mind will inevitably follow. But what about those situations that you haven't physically and mentally prepared for? What about if your boss suddenly says to you, right, you've got to go and give a presentation in front of 100 people, you haven't done any prep time? What if you're in the office making coffee and that cute girl comes around the corner to initiate a conversation with you? You're going to be caught off guard, you're going to be panicking, and you might well feel that awkwardness start to creep in again. So for the second thing I want to tell you, in these situations in which a bit of awkwardness is inevitable, I want you to own the awkwardness. Alright, so awkwardness is a part of life. It's an uncomfortable part of life, and it's something that I'd rather live without, but it happens to everyone, and to deny that is to lie to yourself. The people that you idolize, the celebrities, the ones who just come across as effortlessly charismatic, you might not think they have any awkward moments, but I can assure you they do. Some of them have just mastered the art of playing it off, of even using it to make themselves more likable. And that difference is always made in how you respond to that awkwardness. All right, so speaking from experience, the more you try to fight the awkwardness, the more you deny it, the more you try and resist it, to deny that it's even happening to you, the more you actually end up focusing on it, and you're just unable to think about anything else. And that is exactly how you end up in one of these negative cycles, like the one I talked about in the intro to this video, where focusing on the awkwardness, the anxiety, actually leads to your body language becoming even more stiff and unnatural. And that in itself adds to the anxiety, because then you're thinking everyone's noticing how physically uncomfortable I am. You grow even more concerned with what other people are thinking of you, and then you enter this red-faced clumsiness where you can't even get anything done. You just can't escape. So here's what I want you to do. The next time you feel this awkwardness start to creep in, to disturb you in the middle of your conversation, I want you to pause for a moment and then call it out. I want you to verbally acknowledge it. If you're nervous and you're literally speaking so fast that you run out of things to say, you can't think of what to say next, I literally want you to say that out loud. I want you to say, I've run out of things to say. And I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking that sounds like absolute bullshit. They're gonna think I'm even more of a weirdo. But my friends, it's only awkward if you choose to make it awkward. One thing I've learned over years of working on my social skills is that people are very receptive to energy, to different emotional states. So if you're putting out this nervous energy into the world, if you're acting like it's some life or death scenario, like if I mess up my words, the world is gonna end, that is gonna make the other person feel even more stressed out and uncomfortable in turn. But if upon verbally calling out your own mistake, you do so with a big smile on your face, instead of getting quieter, you get louder and more excited, that is immediately gonna lighten the mood and lower the stakes of this conversation. I just can't stress how important the way you respond to this awkwardness is. If you try to conceal it, if you try to deny that it's even there, you actually run the risk of making it 10 times more obvious that that's what you're actually experiencing. But if you were to bring it out in the open, not literally saying, oh, I feel nervous right now, but just verbally acknowledging that weird moment that you just had, maybe making a joke out of it. That's signaling to the other person that you're ultimately not bothered by it. It gives you something to laugh about, and it shows that you do not take yourself so deathly seriously. And just something else to remember, sometimes what you are perceiving as an incredibly awkward moment, something that you're being really harsh on yourself for, the other person could be perceiving as completely normal. This could just be like a normal interaction for them. Nobody expects perfection from you, and it's these little quirks, these little weird moments that we all have that make us individuals, that make us unique and fun to be around. Alright, so getting on to the next thing, I discussed earlier in this video about how fake it till you make it can be a potential short-term solution for overcoming that initial awkwardness. But now we're at the point where we need to think beyond that. See, the problem with fake it till you make it is people often end up with imposter syndrome when they don't feel like that guy. There is a disconnect between their external behavior and what they're feeling on the inside. So for the third point I want to make in this video, you probably guessed this was coming, but we need to start changing ourselves from the inside out. There is no substitute for true, authentic confidence. Confidence that isn't dependent on what we're wearing, what we look like, or who we're speaking to. So I'll cut to the chase and tell you how we can start building that authentic, long-lasting confidence. The number one rule is that confidence comes from competence. And to build this type of confidence, we must prove that we are who we say we are. So back in the day, I used to beat myself up so much for being awkward, for not being able to get my words out, for running out of things to say, for making others feel uncomfortable. I'd ask myself, why can't I just be confident? But when I'd be presented with those opportunities to socialize, I'd literally run away. Like at the family gatherings, at the weddings, instead of going around the room and talking to people, I'd be in the corner on my phone. I'd literally be ignoring everyone. Yet I'd still be asking myself questions about why am I so awkward? Why can't I just be confident? I was totally in denial about how limited my social skills were. I didn't want to be awkward, but since I'd given myself no evidence to the contrary, I couldn't help but see myself that way. And the same goes for every single one of your insecurities, all of your weaknesses. You have a choice about whether to chase down that fear, to conquer it, to confront those insecurities, or see yourself as a quitter for your entire life. So the only way to shatter that existing belief about yourself, to stop seeing yourself as this quitter, this awkward person, whatever it might be, is through raw action. So in practical terms, whenever I felt awkward or uncomfortable in a social situation, lacking that confidence and just wanting to leave, wanting to escape the situation like what I talked about, I told myself to do the opposite. I literally go out of my way to speak to as many people I didn't know as I could. Everyone from the bus driver to the lady in the shop to the cute girl in the gym. I told myself I have to get good at speaking to every type of person. I told myself I'm going to show up and do this every day. I'm going to speak to 5 new people that I don't know without fail. That is what it's going to take for me to see some results. And more generally, because I don't just want to limit this to social situations and social skills. If you want to become more confident in any realm of life, whenever you're feeling that fear, that anxiety steering you away from a certain course of action, you just got to do it anyway. And I'm speaking rationally, like not anything stupid here, like use common sense, but you have to do it anyway. And this process will absolutely test you. At times it will annihilate your ego. Like I've talked about my experiences on this channel, going down to London at the weekends, of trying to chat to as many strangers as possible, of speaking to hot girls, of getting rejected. And that's not even the hardest part of it. The hardest part is continuing to be consistent. Even when you've been getting those small wins, even when you're feeling good about yourself, it's going beyond that even further to push your limits. The more you prove yourself to be consistent and reliable when it comes to taking action, especially when you don't feel like it, the more evidence you have, the more it becomes absolutely undeniable that you are a confident individual who can do things that other people are too scared to do. When you build that competence, that trust in yourself to perform no matter what the situation is, that is when the natural confidence will follow.